Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I'm Shekhar Gupta and my guest this week, well, somebody who used to sneak into people's farms and burn entire crops because they used GM or genetically modified technology. And then suddenly, sometime early this year, he made a complete switch, turnaround, defection, whatever you call it. But whatever he did, Mark Lynas, you are a brave man. Welcome to Walk the Talk.
Thank you very much.
Environmental activist, in some ways, the founder of the anti-GM movement.
Not the founder, I was one of the early members, but this was a very diverse, broad coalition which involved Prince Charles, the right-wing press, middle-class people. And I think I look back on this now and I think what went wrong? How come we all came to believe something which was not just incorrect, but the precise opposite of the truth as scientists were telling us at the time? And it took me 10 years to really understand that the science wasn't supporting what we as activists were saying. And that was a very long process, it was a difficult process, and I think it's cost me some personal, if not credibility, it's cost me a lot of grey hairs because...
Do you have a thick skin? I mean, we should check that. You're walking in the footsteps, literally, of Salman Rushdie, because that's the other guest we recorded on these gardens at Taj Palace in Delhi.
Well, that's a rather scary comparison because...
Both of you are brave people.
He's a braver man than I because, you know, he took on...
And quite endangered. You maybe not physically, but...
Well, I certainly hope not. But, I mean, Salman Rushdie was taking on a religious ideology, and I'm actually doing the same in some ways because the environmental movement has an ideological opposition to genetically modified crops. So it's not based on science, it's not based on any rational assessment of risks and benefits. It's something about, I think it's about the fear of new technology, something about the fear of the new, which upsets people. And when these fears become widely believed, people believe all sorts of myths about GM being poisonous, about causing sterility. And of course, the scientists can't understand why these myths have become so pervasive, but they're now worldwide.
But I'm interested. Describe this ideology a little bit and compare this with the religious ideology as you see it.
The ideology it's a mixture of different things. So there's a big suspicion that there's something about GM technology which is going to bring multinationals to enslave farmers. That's one of the things you hear very often. The other is about that something inherently dangerous about GM because it is a powerful technology. We can see scientists moving genes from plants into animals because, of course, all living things share the same genetic system of DNA. So it's now become possible to do that in a way which was never possible before. So humanity does have a powerful tool at its disposal.
But this ideology is not limited to GM. You know, like all religious ideologies, they have multiple demons.
Yeah.
So does this.
Actually, yes, I think the ideology is to some extent anti-progress and anti-development because the insistence is that farmers in developing countries in particular shouldn't have access to new technology, shouldn't have access to new crops which are more productive. So there's also an opposition to hybrid crops, and there's an opposition to mechanization even, and there's an insistence that only the traditional is the way the farmers... Pesticides true, and actually one of the things that I like about GM is that it enables us to reduce the use of pesticides. I would like to see less pesticides. We all want to see less pesticides used in our farming systems.
But is there sufficient evidence that GM reduces the use of pesticides?
Absolutely there is. When it comes to BT, for example, we've seen
BT cotton?
You've seen the BT cotton, absolutely, because the whole point of this is that the cotton has the genetic structure which enables it to target pest itself. So when the pest goes into the cotton plant, then only that pest then dies, and the resulting impact is so much better for biodiversity than if you're spraying it. You can imagine all of the insects die, that affects the birds, it affects biodiversity more widely. But with BT, just that one pest which goes into the plant, that's the only one that gets targeted. So this is vastly superior environmentally than using pesticides.
So what was the scientific evidence on which you based your opposition all these years to GM?
I didn't base my opposition on scientific evidence, this is the point. And so it was when I later started writing scientific books, and it was when I realized there was a conflict between my pro-science position on climate change and my anti-science position on biotechnology that I then had to change my mind on to become pro-science across the whole board. Because I was getting my information from activist groups, like most people do, like the media does around the world. Activist groups were telling me that there was something evil,
on
something
these
wrong
issues,
about...
media around the world does not want to be confused with facts. Let me make that disclosure.
Yeah, but the media has to do its job.
Right.
I mean, you as a media person, you know, I assume you consider it your mandate to be evidence-based in terms of how you report on a story, and yet media and journalists just take press releases from the environmental organizations who are campaigning on biotech as if that's fact, and it's
so
not.
Were you misled? Did you allow yourself to be misled? Were you lazy? Were you a crook? What were you?
I think I was ignorant rather than rather than lazy or, I mean, I was misinformed. I'll put it that way. I never knowingly made a statement which was incorrect. So I wouldn't say I was a liar because I didn't say something which I knew to be untrue. What I was doing was repeating the myths which had already been stated numerous times by Greenpeace and the other environmental organizations because I was an environmentalist. I mean, how many environmentalists could you get to walk down this path and tell you a scientific perspective on GMOs? Almost none. And so this is a major failing of the environmental movement, which has done so much good in terms of deforestation, overfishing, biodiversity protection, and yet on this issue...
And climate change.
And climate change, absolutely.
Where you are still pro-science.
Yeah. I'm like that with Greenpeace on climate change.
Right.
But that's why I can't understand why they have a pro-science position on climate change and an anti-science position on biotechnology, where the vast majority of scientists would say they're talking rubbish.
Because, when you made this turnaround, and we'll talk about why you made this turnaround, one of our most prominent and respected activists, Vandana Shiva, said, you speaking like that was like giving rapists the freedom to rape.
I can't see why you describe Vandana Shiva as either prominent or respected. I mean, she does knowingly make statements which are clearly inaccurate and incorrect about farmers' suicides and other assertions about Monsanto and BT Cotton, which are just flat, I mean, not just wrong, I would say those were lies. And to say in the same week as that awful rape in the bus in Delhi, to compare GMOs with that, I thought was just obscene and offensive and was a betrayal of all humanitarian and moral values. I was very upset by that, and I think she should withdraw that statement.
Have you argued with her in a public forum ever?
No, I haven't. I mean, we've both done BBC Hard Talk interviews, but we haven't actually done
until a few months back you were on the same side.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of respect for her because I didn't realize what she was saying was wrong. So I've actually, in my former life as a journalist, I even did a very fawning interview with her once. And I assumed that everything she said was real, and I assumed it represented the perspectives of Indian farmers. But actually, when you come here, and I'm no expert, but some of the Indian farmers I've spoken to have said, look, we want the choice to grow new technologies. She and the activists are just trying to ban all of these new crops. So that's a denial of choice. So I would say I'm not even pro-GM, I'm pro-choice. And farmers should have the choice to benefit from modern science, just like everyone else.